OU announces a blockbuster partnership at the Health Science Center, a racist bake sale at the University of Texas, and Norman police issue a scam warning. This is OU Nightly. The OU Board of Regents has given the nod to big changes that President Warren says will transform OU's medical school.
The Regents approved a partnership between OU and SSM Health, a nonprofit Catholic healthcare system. Boren predicts the agreement each year will save the Health Science Center about $75 million. SSM's nonprofit status means the partnership can funnel profits back into the healthcare system rather than paying them to the Hospital Corporation of America. Most immediately, the partnership will fund a new inpatient tower and much-needed equipment at OU Medical Center.
The Regents also approved construction on Graduate and Executive Center at the Price College of Business, a $3 million addition to the budget for the OU football stadium, and health insurance changes for OU faculty and staff that will raise the cost of coverage.
Meanwhile, there's trouble in Texas. An affirmative action bake sale today at the University of Texas in Austin is sparking controversy. Students from UT's chapter of Young Conservatives of Texas hosted the bake sale, claiming to protest affirmative action. The bake sale caused an uproar within the university and attracted a crowd of hundreds of protesters. Here's why. The price for a cookie varied between different races, and the organization even charged females a quarter less than males. This isn't the first time that affirmative action has been at the forefront in Austin. There was a similar event in 2013 and another earlier this year.
And it's been pretty cloudy outside, but it's also been really hot. Jordan, what can we expect?
Yeah, that's right. We actually have a severe thunderstorm warning currently in effect for Atoka and Cole counties until 5:45 p.m. Main threats with that is 1-inch hail and also 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Now, what's going on? We've got our cold front that's sitting off to our north, and that's what's causing these thunderstorms to develop along the front. But it's not really a cold front. It's more of a cool front. Look at the temperatures. 80 degrees in Oklahoma City, 82 degrees in Woodward. That's not really a cold front. That's more of a boundary. So we're going to be talking about that cold front moving through this evening and also into tomorrow. Some patchy fog tomorrow morning and maybe a pattern change. Could it be cooler or could it be warmer? All the details coming up. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Jordan. The search for Michael Dale Vance continues, and Oklahoma authorities say he likely intends to harm more people. Vance is wanted for a string of killings, shootings, and carjackings in Oklahoma. Authorities link Vance's actions to an ongoing sexual assault case against him. They believe he is targeting people who have had some hand in the case that alleges he sexually assaulted a 15-year-old girl. Vance was last seen Monday in western Oklahoma, 30 miles from the Texas border.
The Norman Police Department is warning citizens of a scam that is attempting to solicit money from Norman citizens. There have been 8 reports saying that a person is posing as the Norman Police Chief asking for donations. Norman PD will never ask a citizen for donation through a phone.
A couple who survived last year's Oklahoma State homecoming parade crash is suing the driver who caused the wreck. Leo and Sharon Schmitz are seeking more than $1 million for damages and personal injury. The trial will take place on January 10th.
Oklahoma City is experiencing a dip in general funds. The city's October sales tax report found general fund collections were down by 3.1% from last year. So far, almost $18 million was collected from the last half of August to the first half of September. But that's still more than $900,000 below the original projection. The general fund is financed by things like sales tax and pays for the city's day-to-day operations. Tori Johnson joins us now with the latest on U.S. Secretary of Defense's efforts to resolve a decade-old issue. Tori?
Anna, Defense Secretary Ash Carter says he is suspending all efforts to collect reimbursement from members of California Army National Guard. 10 years ago, the Pentagon offered bonuses to soldiers for reenlistments, which they were not actually eligible for. Carter says the Pentagon hopes to resolve the issue no later than July next year. And deadly airstrikes rain down on Syria near a school complex. It is unclear how many people have been killed as a result. Reports have shown it could be up to 22 dead. There are at least 50 wounded. Most of the victims were children. Hundreds of residents fleeing the fight to retake Mosul are crossing over to Syria. A UN refugee agency has developed a camp for the displaced people. Officials say the camp has received about 50 people daily. They expect that number to rise as the battle continues. The refugees are facing extremely cramped conditions. And a former Marine donated part of his liver to a complete stranger, and today, 18 months later, he married her. Now back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Tori.
Well, still ahead on OU Nightly, an in-studio interview with OU professor Ronald Gaddy.
Plus, we'll delve into 2 state questions before voting.
Welcome back. Election 2016 is less than 2 weeks away, and Oklahomans are looking at a number of state questions. OU Nightly's Ashley Brown has more on 2 state questions that will force major changes for criminal justice in the Sooner State.
State question 780 and 781 hasn't had much attention, but is now raising questions for voters.
State question 780 reclassifies simple drug possession and certain low-level property offenses as misdemeanors instead of felonies. 781 takes the cost savings from keeping these individuals out of prison and directs that money to go to mental health and substance abuse services.
Sarah Edwards, Outreach Director of Oklahomans for Criminal Justice Reform, is part of the Vote Yes for 780 and 781 campaign. The Vote Yes campaign has put out alarming statistics encouraging voters to take a closer look.
We're the highest incarceration state in the nation for women. We incarcerate women at approximately twice the national average.
Oklahoma prisons are sitting at 119% in capacity. Edwards said the Department of Corrections isn't correcting anything, but instead warehousing inmates and then releasing them back into the same situations.
We can continue to throw money away and continuing to create a perpetual welfare state for a certain population, or we can take the money and reinvest it in Oklahomans and people.
Norm Smalago, an asset protection manager, is one person that plans to vote no because he says it creates an excuse for criminals and thieves. The clock is ticking, but there's still time for voters to dive in and make their own opinion on the issue. Ashley Brown, OU Nightly.
Voters can head to the polls to vote for state questions like this November 8th.
But when you do go to cast your ballot, you might think twice about taking a selfie while fulfilling your democratic duty. Across the United States, a mixture of states' laws either allow, don't allow, or are unclear on ballot selfies. If you're voting in Oklahoma, state law from about 40 years ago suggests it's illegal, but doesn't give clear penalties. In Texas, you can't take photos within 100 feet of a polling station, but mail-in ballot selfies are allowed. Even Justin Timberlake is being forced to deal with questions on if he violated Tennessee state law when he took a picture with his ballot on Monday. In a statement, Shelby County District Attorney Amy Weirdrich said that nobody is investigating this matter and they will not be using their limited resources to do so.
And in the presidential race, Donald Trump now says he will dramatically increase his own contributions to his campaign in the final stretch of the race. Trump says he will have spent $100 million to his campaign by November 8th, although Federal Election Commission records show he's given far less. The GOP nominee also said he is confident of victory, even though recent polls show him behind Hillary Clinton.
And Allie Stratton is standing by on set with OU's Political Science Department Chair Keith Gaddy. Allie?
Dr. Gaddy, thanks for joining us. So the stage is pretty much set in Oklahoma for the presidential race. Recent polls coming in are telling us that Donald Trump has more than a 99% chance of winning the election here. What do you think it is about Trump that's garnering such an immense support from Oklahomans?
Well, remember, no Democrat has won Oklahoma since 1964. We pretty much could have called this state the moment we knew who the Republican nominee was. It didn't really matter who it was. For Donald Trump in particular, what's the appeal? It's really simple. He's a Republican, he's a nationalist, and he's a populist, and that sells well in this state.
Okay. I now want to discuss some of our state questions, which are slightly less predictable. First off, is there a specific question that you think Oklahomans will be very unified on?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think if we look at the state question regarding the modification of our Blaine Amendment, the so-called 10 Commandments question, that is a pretty easy question to see passing. The way the ballot language is designed, the issue, it's right in the wheelhouse of an evangelical Oklahoma voter. It's also probably unconstitutional, but that's another issue for downstream.
Okay. And is there a state question that you anticipate to be highly contentious? Or are there several maybe that you think Oklahomans will be split on?
Well, I mean, the most contentious one out there is probably 779, the penny sales tax for education, because it creates a real tension for Oklahoma voters. On the one hand, people want to fund schools, and you need money to do that. But it's hard to get people to vote for a tax increase in this state. And the problem with the sales tax is you're increasing what is already one of the highest sales taxes in the country to the highest sales tax in the country. So that's a tough sell. It's a real tough sell. That'll probably be closer than the polling indicates.
Is there another question that you anticipate to be like very unforeseeable?
Well, you know, the fun one could be this one on wine and beer
Right.
that's out there.
Yeah.
And you have Will Rogers, you know, probably the greatest Oklahoman ever. He observed once that Oklahomans will vote dry so long as they can stagger to the polls. That, you know, put simply, Oklahomans have always voted prohibition, even though they're not prone to practice it. And, you know, the wine and beer laws in the state really are archaic, and they do need to be updated and changed. And this is a perfectly logical change in our state law. It'll actually get us national grocers and national distributors here. It is good for wine, for the wineries in the state, and for the brewers. But it's wine and beer.
Right.
And who knows?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Dr. Gaddy will also be joining us on election night to provide us with his analysis as the results come in. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Allie. Well, still ahead on OU Nightly, Jordan Overton is here with weather.
That's right. It's going to be warmer or colder. A cold front on the way? I'll let you know the details after this. Welcome back to United. I'm Jordan Overton and look at your weather. So we have the cold front moving through right now, giving us showers and thunderstorms mainly in southeastern Oklahoma. Western half of the state has been dry. This is all part of a low pressure system that's been moving off to our east. And notice we actually have some snow in Michigan right now. It's like snow, nothing like that here. And the question is it ever going to get cooler? So here's what we're looking at. This is the heat dome. So this is the warmer weather that we've been seeing for the past basically week. And you can see as we get into this weekend, it's going to stay here. Now, what would normally happen around this time of year is we'd have a system, low pressure system, that would move in, which would bring us cooler weather and also would bring us wetter weather. But watch what happens as we go throughout the weekend. It actually goes around us. And why is that? That's because the heat dome stays in control. Now, Monday is the last day of October. Tuesday is the first day of November. November 1st is normally when Oklahoma City sees its first freeze, 32 degrees. On November 1st, our lows are going to be in the 60s, thanks to this heat dome that's going to be right around us. And really, it's going to stay that way all the way into next week. So we're looking at the next 7 to 10 days. Temperatures are going to be in the 80s, which is almost 10 degrees above normal for this time of year. Now, the good news is looking far into next week. So this is next Thursday and next Friday. It looks like that system may be one that finally comes through and breaks down this dry and warm pattern. Now again tonight we do have a chance for thunderstorms mainly to the southeast of Norman. Marginal risks not too bad. Again, anything will be mainly sub-severe, maybe some small hail, some very light winds with that. Lows tonight will be rather warm, 58 degrees with partly cloudy skies as that front kind of moves through. And it doesn't really do too much. I mean, we're sitting in the 40s and the 50s. It's going to really be the way it is for the past couple of nights. And tomorrow, things are going to be just like they have been. 60 degrees, partly cloudy skies, 70 degrees by noon, and 77 degrees by 5 p.m. Highs across the state, again, 80s. What are we talking about? This is October. What's going on? Normal is 69. That heat dome is just staying in control and keeping us warm. Now, if we look at the forecast here for the next 7 days, here we are for Thursday, sunny and light winds, and Friday we'll have a few clouds and it'll also be warm. And then as we look into the weekend and next week, more of the same. 80 degrees, 70 degrees, it's pretty much the same thing over and over with dry conditions and just a few clouds. Not really too much at all.
Yeah, it seems crazy that it's this late into October.
I'm telling you, we're talking about freezing weather normally, but instead we're in the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm completely okay with this. I am not opposed one bit.
That's very true.
Well, thanks, Jordan. And the Sooners' homecoming is right around the corner. Reagan Ledbetter is here with more.
Thanks, guys. Sooner football is continuing prepping for the homecoming game against the Jayhawks, and the World Series kicked off last night. Sports is coming up next. Welcome back. The Sooners are fresh off an offensive explosion in Lubbock against the anti-Baker Mayfields. Despite the Mixon and Mayfield show, there were no silver linings for the OU defense. Patrick Mahomes carved up the OU secondary like a Thanksgiving turkey, and the tackling was awful. But Saturday is a new day as the Sooners welcome the much-improved Kansas Jayhawks to Owen Field. Kansas comes in as a 35-point underdog, but the Sooners aren't taking them lightly.
Well, I know they're way better than what the record shows. A lot of close games, a lot of things that if it went one way for them, it would have been a different outcome. So, I know we're going to get their best.
And the A golf team spent the weekend down at the Golf Club of Georgia Collegiate. OU walked away with a disappointing 6th-place finish, but held their heads high as they were only 3 strokes out of first. Senior Max McGreevy led the pack, shooting 9 under par and capturing a share of the individual title.
I wasn't playing very good going into the event, and just kind of came in with the mindset of just playing good for the team and trying to help them out as much as possible, and just put a couple good rounds together and ended up having a chance there at the end and ended up kind of finishing it off, which was nice.
Cleveland rocks! 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 Cleveland rocks!
Oh, Cleveland, or should I say Believeland, is the center of the sports world right now. Last night, fans got to see the King and the Cavs put a ring on it, and next door, the World Series kicked off. But starting out with a little baseball, it was pure dominance throughout for the Indians. Corey Kluber sat Cubs batters down left and right, racking up 9 strikeouts through 6 innings. Catcher Roberto Perez slugged 2 homers, sealing the 6-0 Game 1 Cleveland win. And back to the King, LeBron Do-It-All James. The best player in the league started off his season just like he finished his title run. James racked up a triple-double against the Knicks with 19 points, 11 rebounds, and 14 assists. The Cavs started defending their title with a 117-88 win. And well, the undefeated dream for the Bay Area was short-lived, and I mean really, really short-lived. The powerhouse Golden State Warriors had a night to forget in the Kevin Durant debut last night. Pop and the Spurs had their way, piling up a 129-100 win to start their season on a high note. Speaking of Durant, his old mates kick off their season tonight as the Thunder travel to Philly to play the Sixers. And it's Wednesday, and that means it's time to honor the weekly whiner. This week we head up to Northeast, home of Mr. Ryan Fitzpatrick and the New York Jets. The struggling Fitzpatrick lost his starting job to the former Big 12 quarterback Geno Smith. Fitz got his chance once again, replacing an injured Smith to finish out the game on Sunday, and then made the post-game press conference about himself and not about the team.
The biggest thing in this game in order to last is to have belief in yourself, because when the owner stops believing in you and the GM stops believing in you and coaches stop believing in you, sometimes all you have is yourself. I don't know what decision they're going to make or what Geno's health is going to be like, but I think I should start every week.
And to you, Mr. Fitzpatrick, a nice bottle of fine wine to cover those whining problems you have.
Wow.
I would say that I would love him as a starting quarterback. I'm like Mike Stoops.
What's it about NFL players and whining? I mean, every week it's the same story.
A dozen interceptions.
You just gotta have humility.
He wanted a big contract. He got his little contract for the year, and now he's complaining. So, sorry, dude.
It's incredible. But thanks, Reagan. Still to come on OU Nightly, we'll take a last look at today's weather.
I'm Jaycie Bayless at the OU Nightly Update Desk. 2 earthquakes today were found to have been aftershocks from the 6.2 earthquake that shook Italy just 2 months ago. The first shock hit at 7:10 and the second aftershock struck at 9:18. Only 1 person was injured, but churches and buildings crumbled into the street. Power lines are down and schools are being canceled as a precaution. Now, back to you.
Thank you, Jaycie. A hospital in Cleveland, Ohio is outfitting its newborn babies with Cleveland Indians onesies. The bundles of joy are now rooting for the Indians whether they like it or not. The hospital shared these photos last night in honor of Game 1. Cubs fans, don't worry, newborns at Illinois hospitals are getting onesies too.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, hopefully, you know,
Fans for life, I guess.
start them young. Can we take another look at tonight's forecast?
Yeah, that's right. So again, the storms will be off to the southeast of Norman. Things should be fine. 66 degrees, 8 o'clock, topping off at 63 degrees by midnight. As we look at that, one last look at the 7-day forecast. Again, much of the same that we've seen for the last week. Sunny and light winds for Thursday, a few clouds and much warmer for Friday, and then 80s for the rest of the week with only a few clouds. That dry weather is here to stay.
Wow, thank you so much. Well, thank you for watching OU Nightly, brought to you by the Gaylord College at the University of Oklahoma.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night live at 4:30.
Have a great evening.
Good night.